been studying cells. I believe I have gone through here and underlined the words that you need to fill in, and they do go in order. Cells help living creatures with activities of life, such as movement, growth, and reproduction. Are cells alive?
Yes.
Yes, indeed they are. Is anything made of cells considered alive?
Yes. No.
Yes? No?
Yes.
Maybe?
Yes. No.
I think so.
Anything that is made of living cells. Is there such thing as a dead cell?
Yes.
Yes.
What's in my cup?
Yes.
Dead coffee. Are coffee beans considered a plant?
Yes.
Yes, but once I grind them up and run them through the food processor and through the coffee maker, are they still alive?
No.
Would you be?
No.
Of course
I
not.
don't know.
So, let me see. Brock, are you wearing socks?
Yes.
All right, what are your socks made out of?
Cotton.
Cotton, of course they are. Is cotton a plant?
Yes.
Yes, are plants made of cells?
Yes.
Are his socks alive?
No.
I just kind of depends on when the last time you washed them, huh? Okay. No, of course not. They're dead plant cells. I trimmed my fingernails this morning. I'm made of cells. I'm alive. Yes?
Yes.
Last time I looked. Come back and check in 15 minutes. Okay. So are my fingernails made of cells?
Yes.
Live cells?
No.
Do they scream when I cut them?
No.
Ah! Oh, no, of course not. Dead cells. So, something can be made of cells and not be alive if it's made of dead cells. Potato chips. Are potatoes plants?
Yes.
Are potatoes made of live cells?
Yes.
You plant a potato, what happens?
It grows.
Grows a potato plant. That's where little baby potatoes come from. Ew. But if you slice them up really, really thin and fry them in hot oil for a while,
You get french fries.
you get French fries. Yeah. Or slice them really thin, you get potato chips. Are French fries alive?
No.
Are they made of cells?
Yes.
What kind of cells?
Dead cells.
Oh my goodness, I think they got them. French fry cells. Now, cell theory was developed by this very odd-looking fellow named Robert Hooke. He invented the microscope. No, he didn't. He didn't invent the microscope in 1665. Cross that out. Robert Hooke discovered cells. He developed the cell theory, but he did not invent the microscope. Antoine van Leeuwenhoek developed the compound microscope. And we'll talk about that and make fun of his name here in a little bit. But this is Robert Hooke. He looked at... Oh, wait. I want to go back. Whoa! Oh, I love that picture, but I do want to go back. Back. Oh, snap. Hold on.
Spiders.
We are having technical difficulties.
I am having technical difficulties. Back. Okay, this picture right here. He was looking at a piece of cork under Leeuwenhoek's microscope. And he made a note in his scientific journal that said, object appears to be made of tiny cells, referring to like a jail cell or little teeny tiny rooms. And he is the one that coined the term cell. And he also came up with cell theory, which we'll talk about here in a few minutes. All living things are made of one or more cells. Now, how many cells am I alive? How many cells am I made of?
100 trillion.
About 100, yeah. Or probably a little bit more. I've gained a few pounds over the years. But a bunch. I'm made of a bunch of cells. But there are some organisms, and we saw them when we did Cell Safari, that are only made of one cell.
Whoa.
I know, the little paramecium.
Really slow.
Yeah, one cell. You can look in and see their little nucleuses. Amoebas are one cell.
Those things.
Johnny the one cell boy. Yeah, was only one cell. Yeah, Kyle?
What about those water fleas? I mean, like, I
Mosquitoes?
got this big family of water fleas that
The water fleas are multicellular because anything that's got like a true digestive tract, if you can see it eat and poop, it's got more than one cell. That's a pretty good standard. If you can see it eat and poop. And I don't know, amoebas are only one cell. They don't really have mouths. They just kind of absorb and infiltrate. They just kind of surround their prey and absorb them.
That would be awesome.
Yes, from Monsters vs. Aliens. I love that movie. Now, the cell is the basic unit of life. All living things are made out of cells. So, I'm going to start naming off some things, and you tell me, cells or no cells? Me.
Cells.
My dog Crash.
Cells.
Crash's collar.
Cells.
No cells. My desk.
No cells.
The Twinkie inside my desk.
No cells.
Very good. That's it. If I've got a Twinkie that's alive in my desk,
Oh.
I've got a real bad case of guilt going right now. It's like you should have said something. Sorry, I don't speak Twinkie. All cells, and part of cell theory that Robert Hooke developed is all cells come from cells that already exist. Oh, I thought that this
It
was
was.
scroll. Was it scrolling through?
Yeah.
Cool. I wonder if I can make it do it again. Oh yeah, there we go. This is what cellular division looks like. Pretty happy with this thing.
So the nucleus splits apart.
Yes, and forms two cells. That's called mitosis. As opposed to meiosis, which is where two sex cells come together and form a zygote. And I'm not talking about that this year. Ew, that's not my job. 7th grade can deal with that. But the way I remember the difference between mitosis and meiosis is mitosis happens in my toe. It's toe cells. You got one toe cell, and it splits apart and becomes two toe cells. That's why your toenails grow. That's why you get bigger. Meiosis is oh my gosh, you just said sex. That's how I remember the difference. Kyle?
So basically, the first cell that exists, is that part of like just different theories of how the world began? Is that how supposedly the first cell came into existence? Or?
That is one scientific theory of how life on Earth began. You started out with a bunch of amino acids and you add energy and it formed the very first single-celled creature, and it eventually, but we probably are not going to have time to teach evolution this year. We will study natural selection, but I'm probably not going to be able to hit the history of the universe. I can recommend some excellent books for reading, if you want. But before Robert Hooke came along and developed cell theory, do you know where people thought cells came from? They thought they just appeared magically. They thought God willed it, and poof, here come cells. There was something called humors in the body, or the ethers, which sounds like ether bunny to me, but that doesn't make much sense. So, basically, if a witch cast a spell on you, your fingernails would quit growing because she stopped the magic fingernail process. We now know that in order to have two cells, you have to start with one cell. All cells come from cells that already exist. If you plant a bean seed, what's going to grow?
A bean.
A bean. This wasn't always a part of scientific thinking. People, ancient peoples used to have special ceremonies to ensure that when they planted their food crops, that would indeed be what grew. They didn't know. I like our way a lot better. It's a little more certain. Yeah, babe?
My sister is trying to make a lollipop carving.
How old was she?
5.
Okay, see, that's cute. You do it when you're 5 and you're cute. You do it when you're 16 and it's just kind of sad. Now, bacteria. Ew. Wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands. Bacteria are one-celled organisms Larger organisms are made out of many cells, and sometimes, in the case of me, trillions of cells.
That's not for Austin Powers.
Yes, which is rated R, which you should not have seen.
What was it, Sorry.
Austin Powers.
Austin Powers.
Oh my god.
That's a good
And we're going to stick with that story. No, I read about it on the interwebs, Mrs. C. I never saw that movie. That's smile nod, children smile. Now, a microscope, does this look familiar?
Yes.
Its magnification is found by multiplying the powers of the eyepiece, the ocular lens, and the objective lenses. We did this, right?
Yeah.
So, do you remember what magnification the ocular lens of our microscope was? 10x, very good. So if you've got this one, this 10x lens, and you have a 40x lens down here, what's the overall magnification, Kyle?
400 times.
400 times. So Garrett, if I have a 10x lens up here and a 5x lens down here, what's the overall magnification? It smells like learning. Yes? 5 times 10 is? 500. There you go. If I had a 500x lens, I'd have a nice microscope. That's a 5,000 magnification. We don't have those in middle school. Maybe I'll write a grant. Now, this is the part where we get into the big fat meaty part of the learning. Cells are composed of parts that do specific jobs. When we made our cell baggie models, some of these, this represents the mitochondria. What did we use in our cell baggies to represent the mitochondria? Kidney beans. That kind of looks like a kidney bean. The mitochondria produces what for the cell? Energy, I heard that. Then you have rough ER and smooth ER. Do you remember what is on the rough ER that makes it rough, Caleb?
No. Wait, are the beads?
The beads that we put on the pipe cleaners, that we use pipe cleaner to represent the endoplasmic reticulum. When we put the beads on it, that made it rough ER, but what did the beads represent? Ribosomes. Okay, we are going to make another model of the cell next week. This time we're going to use clay. Do you know why?
Clay
Because it's fun.
Yeah.
And it gives you another two-dimensional way to learn these parts of the cell. And then Mrs. Johnson will love me because you'll be ready for her class next year. Okay? Now, on the outside there is a flexible cell membrane. That's the boundary of the cell, and it helps control what enters and exits the cell. It's like the door to my classroom. I can open it and let in Ivina and Emily, and close it if I want to keep out Garrett and Logan. Did you just roll your eyes at me, son? I would have. Some cells, and what kind of cells have a cell wall? What kind of cells have a cell wall? Tell me, Clayton. Plant cells. A cell wall that helps support and protect the cells. Now, here's where a lot of people get confused. If you've got a cell wall, do you also have a cell membrane?
Yes.
Yes. Yes, you do. The cell membrane is like your fence. The cell wall helps hold it up. Do plants have bones? When's the last time you chewing on a piece of celery and spit out a bone? That's great, Mrs. C.
Oh, 20 years ago.
Strings, yeah, but that helps carry food nutrients through the cell. It doesn't help support it. Your bones help support you. Do you know what you'd look like without your bones?
A block.
Little bag of juice.
Gross.
A bag of juicy skinnies.
Bag of meat. Jelly sack.
And we eat that for dinner.
That's good eating too. No, but plants don't have bones. They have to have these cell walls to hold them up. Carrots, celery, onions, all of these plants are crunchy.
Yes.
Are you crunchy?
Yes.
Nope, no crunchy. You're squishy.
If you bite hard enough, then the bone crunches.
Yes, and the bone is the crunchy part of people. That's what holds you up and supports you. Cells don't have bones, so it's their cell walls.
It's like the aliens or the aliens.
Right.
So the cell wall is like the bone up there, kind of.
Yes, but it's every single cell has their cell wall. you guys know this. If it has a cell wall, it still has a cell membrane inside the cell wall. Cell wall supports it. Cell membrane is what goes in and out of the cell. And you can see there's like little channels that they can go and control what goes in and out of the cell. Like wastes are going out. Cells can't spit, so they just are released through the cell wall. Now the cytoplasm is a gelatin-like substance containing many chemicals that the cell needs. In our cell baggies, we use the polysodium acrylate in water to make that goo that we suspended all of our stuff in. So the water and the polysodium acrylate makes the cytoplasm, and the polysodium acrylate powder would be kind of like the nutrients. Basically everything inside the cell that isn't an organelle is cytoplasm. It fills it out, it plumps it up, and goes to structure.
Those look like two eyes.
And then we're looking right at you. Specialized cell parts are called organelles. You have organs.
Yes.
Cells have organelles. They're like organs, only smaller. And they do various jobs. There's a really cool worksheet that I don't think we're going to have time to get to, but for my pre-AP youngins, I might assign it for extra credit. It's called Cell City. And now it's not like J.A. BizCon or anything. It's not really that fun, but it's really interesting because it takes all these different parts of the cell and compares them to a city. So City Hall would be the Newton Hall. Oh, nice. Okay, you guys want me to make some copies of that and sign it for extra credit?
Yes.
Because I don't think we're going to have time to do it, but I'll do that for you. Yes, darling.
I remember doing it last year in 5th grade.
Yeah.
You guys did Cell City?
Yes, we did that.
We didn't.
Really?
Yeah,
We
I want to
didn't.
do it again.
At Angus Valley, we didn't.
Oh, okay. Well, okay, you're a Pratt brat, right?
We're
My daughter was a Pratt brat. I'm allowed.
Point jerk.
Okay, the nucleus, which would be like the city hall of the cell, it contains hereditary material called chromosomes, or deoxyribonucleic acid. So again, deoxyribonucleic acid, DNA. Here in the middle of the cell. Now, do you remember when we studied AIDS during AIDS week, and we talked about what a virus does, and it lands on the cell and injects its little RNA strands into the cell, and it goes into the nucleus and takes over and replaces its genetic material with the cell's genetic material? That's where it takes place, in the nucleus. Oh my gosh, you mean all this learning kind of fits together? Yeah.
Wow.
Vacuoles are storage organelles for food and water and waste. It's like a closet in the cell. You have vacuoles in your cell, but the vacuoles in plant cells are ginormous. Do you know what happens to the plants on my patio if I forget to water them for a while, Caleb?
They start to shrivel up.
They shrink. Do you know why?
So the vacuoles can store energy.
Well,
Water.
all of the water is stored in the vacuoles, but if they use it up and I don't give them any more, the vacuoles shrink down, and the plant just kind of goes, "Huh." If I water them again, the vacuole fills back up, and they go, boing! They don't make that noise, but you know.
They do that in cartoons.
Iron my name. Thank you, old lady, for not letting us die. I love this picture.
That's cool.
And the mitochondria is probably my favorite organelle. And yes, you have to be a humongous nerd to have a favorite organelle. And yet I do. The mitochondria is where cellular respiration happens. Do me a favor. Take your pencils and on your note sheets, underline the word cellular respiration. It uses oxygen to convert food energy. These molecules that you consume. It takes a cheeseburger and your body breaks it down into proteins and lipids and stuff like that. Then these molecules go to your cells and it converts that food into energy. This is where it happens in the mitochondria.
I like the mitochondria.
Yeah, no, I haven't had breakfast either. Yeah, Kyle.
So the cells, in a way, are kind of like humans. I mean, they have organs and
Organelles, yes.
yeah. I mean, like, but I call them organ. I know they have organelles, but it's like human organs kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then things are happening in each one of these organelles within it. And then even smaller than that on the molecular level. When specifically you, Kyle, when you get older, you need to study something called fractal mathematics, where they take, you start out with a really, really big picture, and once you divide it up, you find that you have all of these little teeny tiny parts making up a whole, and it all blends together. It's really fascinating stuff. I wish I were better at math. I would understand it a lot more. I have high hopes for you, though. Yes, Caleb?
Well, that's not important. We all have a lot like cells. We got organs. We even have something like cytoplasm. Our
Yes.
genes. We have that. We got the nucleus, which is like our heart or our brain. Maybe more like our brain, but yeah.
How many of you have ever seen a movie called Osmosis Jones?
Oh, I see.
Clayton.
Out of all
Of course
people.
you have, like.
Yes. Well, we are going to actually spend 2 days next week watching this and analyzing the movie, because what it's about is it's about a guy named Frank who is actually foul, nasty, disgusting, and he winds up getting a virus by eating an egg that was dropped in monkey poop.
Oh, I've seen that movie.
Look at Garrett, he's going, But, and it goes inside the body of Frank, and you have the mayor who works in the brain, and then you have all of the organs of the body, but you have the cells within the organ. It's a
I've seen that
cartoon,
movie.
and it's funny,
I've seen
but
that
it's
movie.
also really fascinating. We'll be doing some analysis on this. Yes,
So
Kyle?
it's kind of like a movie version of the Magic School Bus.
Yes, only Osmosis Jones was not specifically made for learning. There are a lot of scientific inaccuracies in it as well, and we're going to analyze those as well. But part of what consists of making a scientifically literate population means I also have to teach you to figure out what is good science and what is bad science. And while there is some good science in this, I need to teach you how to recognize the bad science too. And then I'm going to loose you upon the world to vote intelligently. Okay, but that's neither here nor there. Now, waste products of cellular respiration are carbon dioxide and water. This is important. How do we know this? Okay, I get a question. You cellular respiration. You C6H12O6, which is glucose, sugar, the simplest food molecule. So the cell takes the sugar and oxygen. We get this from our food, and the oxygen. Where do we get oxygen from? Gills.
Plants.
Your lungs. You breathe in oxygen. They take the oxygen to your cells. They take the food, the glucose molecules to your cells. Your mitochondria makes ATP, adenine triphosphate. These are molecules that your body uses for energy. It's like gas for your car. And what's left over is CO2 and water. How do you get rid of CO2 and water? Carbon dioxide. How do you get rid of it, Kyle?
You breathe out.
Yeah. See, there's some right there. You're welcome. Carbon dioxide, we get rid of it by breathing, and water we get rid of by sweating and spitting and breathing out. It's wet. You breathe out water, and you also urinate. Every chance I get.
Really?
Really.
He said urinate to me. That's just me.
Oh, yeah, that's funny, but inappropriate. Stop. Leaf cells. Now, that was animal cells. Leaf cells make their own food. They don't have mouths. They can't eat cheeseburgers. I know. So what they can do,
We're missing out.
folks, what they can do is they have these things called chloroplasts. Little round green organelles within the cells that help the cell make its own food through photosynthesis. This is the formula for photosynthesis. You take carbon dioxide and water, and in the presence of sunlight, it makes C6H12O6. Wait a minute, where did we just see that?
And the sugar molecule.
It's a simple glucose sugar molecule. and this is what the plant uses for its cellular respiration to make ATP to fuel the plant cells. And then oxygen, and the plants release the oxygen in the air, and then we breathe it. We breathe out carbon dioxide, and they can use that to, and then we eat their glucose molecules, and that's where we get food from plants. They make it through photosynthesis from energy through the sun. So are we eating sunlight? In a way, yeah. All energy on the planet, even the energy that we get from eating a cheeseburger. Can you tell I'm hungry? Even the energy that we get from that comes from the sun. I'm hitting all kinds of science concepts today, aren't I?
I'm learning to burn.
Now, your cell shape is specialized depending on what function. Is a nerve cell shaped the same way as a brain cell?
No.
Not really, even though they're both part of the central nervous system. Is a blood cell shaped the same way as a skin cell?
No.
No, because they have different functions. Do you need a tissue, baby? Get one. Don't blow your nose on that. You'll rub the skin right off your nose. There you go. Now, don't worry about that. Just get what you need. Human specialized cells include fat cells, and fat cells are very, very important. They store energy, and you need them, but not too many of them. Bone cells. Bone cells are alive. Sometimes they're calcified over, and they become hard and rigid. Nerve cells, which carry chemical, electrical impulses. So if I tap you on the top of your head, boink, 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 that carries impulses to your spinal cord and then back up to your brain, and your brain tells you that old lady's touching me again. And of course, muscle cells, which contract. So your brain sends back an impulse to your arm saying, slap the old lady's hand away, and then it contracts the muscle and moves it. Yes, Caleb?
But isn't it true that muscles only pull, they can't push?
Yes, that's right. That's why you have flexor and abductor muscles. So if I move my arm, this muscle up here contracts and these relax. If I move my arm back down like this muscle pulls and this one retracts. That's why if I want to get rid of my bingo wings, I do this exercise right here with the weights, which I obviously haven't done in a day or two. Yes, sir?
Like, is it possible, like, there's travelocity patients where that doctor takes that needle and stabs the guy in the brain, and then his hands start moving and stuff? Is that possible?
Yes, yes. And in medical school, you will do that with live animals. It's called vivisection. That's kind of one of the reasons. Oh, I know. I hated it. Hated it.
Wait, you stick
But-
something in their head?
Yeah.
That's what pumpkin does.
And I don't like it.
That's so neat.
You know something? If they have to do that in order to learn how the brain works, so that someday one of those medical students operates on my daughter and saves her life, that frog's gonna die. Sorry. It's a matter of priorities. Now that does not give you guys permission to go out and do it in your cricket home this afternoon. No.
To me it does.
Fat cells can store so much fat that the nucleus is pressed up against the cell membrane. Like here, they got so big and so chubby that nucleus is going, help me, help me.
Like the face press against the car window.
Kind of like that. Now, excess fat is stored, these are called lipocytes, these fat cells. Now the fat can be used as fuel. That's why if you burn more calories than you consume, if I eat 1,200 calories a day, and just by the process of living, I'll burn 2,000 calories a day, then the excess energy that is stored in the fat cells will be used and the fat cells will shrink. However, if I sit on my couch and watch SpongeBob all day, and I eat 3,500 calories, then that excess energy that I'm eating from the food is stored in these lipocytes, and they get bigger and bigger and bigger. Eventually, they will go through no, they won't pop. They'll go through mitosis, and form 2 more cells, and they'll get bigger and bigger.
So that's how
And
you
then
get
I have to
fat.
buy bigger clothes.
That's how you get fat.
That's how you get overweight. Yes. Yes, Kyle?
So it's like it's reserving energy for when you need it, basically. So when you have excess energy, it stores it for like when you need it.
Yes. It's like bears hibernating for the winter. Nature provides a growing season. You have the warm growing season, and then you have the lean winter months. And humans are basically glorified animals, genetically speaking. We are meant to store up chub for the winter, but with our modern society and the fact that we are smart monkeys, we have Walmart. There is no lean winter months. I can have fresh tomatoes in January. And this is something that's never been had in the history of mankind. That's why, 65% of our adult population is overweight. Is because there's no lean time anymore. Our fat cells just haven't been clued into this yet. And I wish somebody would pick up the phone and give them a call. Now, bone cells. Do you guys remember we actually saw this on one of our prepared slides? Did anybody see this? This is where you take this bone cell and it starts building up layers of calcium and phosphorus to make them hard to help support your body. Now, as you get older, like me, calcium and phosphorus starts to leach out of your bones and your bones get brittle. That's why people my age are afraid we're going to fall down and break a hip, because our bones are more brittle. Some people, this happens in their body naturally. My kid's sister has trouble storing calcium and phosphorus in her body, so her bones are very brittle and they break very easily. Plus the fact, of course, she's my sister and clumsy, right? I hope she doesn't see this. Nerve cells, I love this, have many long branches to send and receive messages. You will study these cells very specifically next year in 7th grade. Basically, they talk to each other. They send chemical, electrical impulses throughout the cell. Like, let's say, I'm the brain, and Caleb, you're the fingers. So I'm going to send an impulse this way. Okay. Wiggle the fingers. Pass it on.
Wiggle the fingers. Wiggle the fingers.
And the fingers wiggle. That's the way your nerve cells work, but much, much, much faster. One thing about nerve cells, though, and one thing that's kind of sad, nerve cells don't grow back.
Uh-oh.
You cut a muscle cell, boom, you'll have new muscle cells, and these things will knit together, and you'll go through rehab, and you'll be good as new. You break a bone, and the bone cells reknit. However, you injure your spinal cord, and those cells do not regenerate. That's why if you break your back or you're in an injury or something like that, you're paralyzed forever. Because at this point, nerve cells do not grow back. If you're interested in doing research on spinal injuries, check into the big stem cell debate on whether or not people should be working with fetal stem cells. Which stem cells are cells that don't know what they're going to do yet. When babies are just basically egg foo young, before they actually become babies, they're made up of a whole bunch of things called stem cells. Some cells decide they're going to be nose cells, and they become noses. Some cells decide they're going to be toe cells, and they become toes, and then all of the other miscellaneous parts. Well, what happens if you could take some of those stem cells, introduce an enzyme or a chemical, and say, you're going to be spinal cord cells, and you inject them into a spinal cord, boom, all of a sudden they're regenerating new spinal cord tissue. All of a sudden, if you're out of a wheelchair, life is good again.
That could actually work.
You think? Yeah.
What if
The only problem is, where do you get the stem cells?
Oh my.
Wait,
There's the problem. Yes,
they
Kyle?
can't take them from like other stem cells. They can't like take them.
Yeah, but from where do you take them?
Are they dead by the
From
time
a
somebody dies?
From a pregnant mom.
Well, the only really, for this specific kind of sometimes, you know, when the baby comes out of the Play-Doh Fun Factory of Life, you have this umbilical cord, this extension cord that connects the mom and the baby. There's some stem cells that come from that. A lot of people want to harvest stem cells out of human fetuses who, for one reason or the other, the mother was unable to carry to term. But there's a big Tyree ethical debate over whether or not, at what point does a baby become a real human and have real human rights, or what point is it just a collection of miscellaneous cells? There is a huge debate, but I'm not here to debate philosophy. I'm here to talk about nerve cells. If you want to do any individual reading on that, that I would support. But I don't want any angry phone calls from parents. Yes, sir?
Couldn't we like use like a different stem cell besides human, like animal or something, or like a plant?
Plants don't have stem cells because they don't undergo that whole baby thing. Honestly, I'm not sure whether or not you can use animal stem cells. I would think that we've done some research on them, but at some point you're going to have to do research on human stem cells. And that's, at this point, it's illegal to do so. Yes, sir?
What if too many cells decide that they want to be toes?
Then you have birth defects.
So yeah.
Oh my gosh, that sounds like learning. Muscle cells have fibers that can contract and relax. Caleb is absolutely right. They never push. They will relax and they will contract. Now what happens if I bend my leg and that muscle contracts and then I bend it down like that? Does it push away? No, it pulls on the other side. When wolves hunt, they do what's called hamstringing. They bite the back of the leg of their prey and snap that Achilles tendon. Therefore, when their prey bends their legs, they can't bend it back the other way, and they fall to the ground and get eaten by the wolves. A lot like I've seen you guys do in line at the cafeteria first thing in the morning. Plant cells. Leaves, stems, roots, they're all specialized. They'll either support the plant, provide photosynthesis, they'll move water. These are chloroplasts, these little green things within the cells. This is the cell wall, and of course the cell membrane inside the cell wall. And that gigundous, humongous vacuole. Cells are organized so they can work together to keep the organism alive. This is the levels of organization for plant life. You start out with atoms. We studied those. Are atoms alive? No. Molecules are compounds. You take an oxygen, hydrogen, and another hydrogen. What do you got?
H2O.
Water, and it's a molecule or compound. Is water alive? Then you take some different molecules and stick them together, and they make an organelle. Are organelles alive?
Yes.
No. No. You put the organelles together, and they form a cell. Is the cell alive?
Yes.
This is the lowest level of organization of a living thing. Anything below cells are not alive. Then, of course, tissue can be living, organs can be living, organ systems, and then organisms. You're an organism. Congratulations. You're made up of organ systems, like your digestive system is an organ system. It's made up of organs like your stomach, your pancreas sac, your esophagus, all of these living organs. And the organs are made out of tissues. Tissues made of cells. Yes?
How is like a bunch of not like this, not the live stuff.
That is a question that scientists have been asking for centuries.
I couldn't hear the
She said, how do you take a bunch of stuff that's not alive and put it together and create life? Well, Dr. Frankenstein,
How do that?
that is an excellent question. If we had electricity, yeah, humans are basically a bunch of electrochemical processes We have no idea. We're trying to find out though. If we ever find out, I'm bringing my dog back. Yes?
We're already able to bring people back. I mean, like, not. I mean, like, you zap them.
Yeah, they did that to me.
But I mean, you see a flat line, you zap them like that.
Yes, but can you do that if once your brain and your heart stops, your cells continue to live for a while after that? Once a certain amount of time passes,
Your cells die.
the cells start to die off, and at that point there's no going back. That's why they have to hurry up and do that. That's why if somebody has a heart attack or something, you need to start CPR almost immediately to keep oxygen going, to keep all the cells alive until they can do the clear and bring you back. What are you practicing? Stop. Wait,
Actually, didn't they get rid of
hold on, one at a time, Ben.
You know how you said that, Brady said that if one's, like, if it decides to be, like, more than one cell and they're deformed, can you take some of their cells and, like, use it for human things?
Once those stem cells make that decision that they're going to be toe cells or brain cells or whatever, they're no longer stem cells. Then they're brain cells or toe cells. And all you can do is like, just do that. Yes, Kyle?
I thought they got rid of the paddle thing. Didn't they?
The defibrillator.
The defibrillator? Oh no. Matter of fact, they have them in like all over the place. And just about anywhere you go,
I thought
you
they
see
came
like
up
little
with like
boxes.
a different method now or something.
For CPR, yes.
Well, I mean, like.
Yes.
Couldn't you, whenever you were looking for stem cells, couldn't you find the things that command it, whatever the cell, to be that type of cell?
Yes.
And
That's what they're
it-
wanting to do with research, is figure out how to do that. And they're working on it. That'll be, just think about all of the genetic defects, Huntington's disease, cystic fibrosis, all of these different genetic, Down syndrome, I don't know, Down syndrome is, yeah. There are all of these different genetic, not disease, but disorders that you could cure with this. It's just a huge potential benefit. Yes, Tyler?
Whenever they do those little shocking things in the hospital, why do they raise the power?
Huh?
Like
The shock.
show, like whenever they rub them together, why do they raise the power?
Why do they raise the power? In case you need a stronger jolt, I guess. You want that heart muscle to contract, and you add electricity to a muscle, it's going to contract. Did you ever touch a live wire?
Yeah.
What's the first thing that happens? You go, it hurts, doesn't it? Okay, guys, we need to move on. Kyle, I'm going to answer your question, then we're going to move on.
Well, I remembered. My mom was saying now they put like these pad things on them and like press a button and shut.
Yeah.
Instead
And
of
anybody can do it because they have them in like little closets, and you read the instructions, and that makes me nervous. Yeah.
But she was talking about instead of the paddle things, they exchanged it for real. So,
Yeah. But I still just like that video. Tissues are groups of similar cells that do the same kind of work. Two or more tissues that works together forms an organ. So like for the stomach, you have nervous system and connective tissue and muscle tissue all together to form one organ, which is your stomach. Groups of organs that work together are called organ systems. Skeletal system.